Hello, welcome to Sky Sweaty Record Review, episode 117. It's the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the YMCA. And now you'll notice I'm not immediately out of the YMCA. I did record an episode, but it was 15 minutes long and it was about this band and I just never really got to the point. So let me get to it now. The name of the band I'm reviewing is called the Maybirds, or actually just Maybird. And the album is called Things I Remember from Earth. And the main reason I chose to listen to them is I was walking around my local record shop, the Record Archive, and I saw their record up there, and it turns out they're from Rochester. And I live in Rochester, and so anything that's cultural and relevant that comes from Rochester, I'm immediately attracted to. And I listened to it, and I was hoping that I would like it, and I really do. It's classified as psychedelic rock, and I don't really know what that means. Like, if you know what that means, you know, you put that in the comments or whatever. It feels like an awful lot like a catch-all for any band that's like influenced by the Flaming Lips or Tame Impala or something. Like basically some somewhat nasally white guy and a guitar. That's essentially what appears to be the most important parts of psychedelic rock. And I suppose this album fulfills that criteria. Allow me to describe a little bit about what I like about this album. I like it a lot. In general, the two sort of standard things in this album are really strong drums, like consistent, nothing too flashy, the way I like it, you know, well played, interesting beats, but not like someone trying to impress somebody at a drum store, you know, and then really strong, crisp, clear vocals. When I was thinking about what is it that makes psychedelic rock psychedelic, I think perhaps like the foundational text, the foundational sound of psychedelic rock is probably I Am the Walrus by the Beatles. And I would say that like the way that John Lennon sings in that song is the way that all psychedelic rock would try to impersonate from that point forward. You know, like on I Am the Walrus, like how he's like steely and stoned, you know? He's like kind of loose, but also kind of tight. And the lyrics obviously are weird and, you know, Semolina Pilchard and all that stuff. I've been from my dad dog's eye, but that kind of nasally effect that he gets, that appears to be one of the fundamental rocks upon which it's all built. And I definitely say you can hear that in this. And I don't know if Maybird is influenced by the Beatles or by I Am the Walrus, but that's what gives me the psychedelic vibe. That and maybe all the lyrics are about psychedelic drugs. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff. It's a very existential album and a very kind of cosmic album about like being outside your body and outside of Earth. Which, come to think of it, it could be about that, but I don't know. What is this, a drug test? So, this album though, it's really nice. And one thing that's nice is it has that guitar and that singing, and then other instruments come in. You know, I mean, it's the drums and the singing. Usually a guitar, but not always. Often a keyboard, but not always. Sometimes there'll be like a really nice, like, fuzzy guitar or a horn that comes in to play a lead line. The way it's produced is you sort of hear the beginning and it gets set up, and then usually by the third part of the song, by the bridge, by the C part, you get the sense of like something exciting is going to happen. And that kind of other instrument comes in, or things get layered better. There's a song called You're Going to Lose Your Minds, my favorite track on the album. I'm not going to play it for you because it's a little bit hard to hear with like my horrible computer sound and all that. But just it has like these horns and a guitar and a keyboard and singing and then a chorus singing over it and whistling, and yet somehow it's clear. And it's a very nice song. If I had sort of a problem with the album, it's kind of that it's not that catchy. You know, there's not that many like melodies that really grab you. I mean, there's a song like The Damages, which has this really cool, freaky opening. Very creative, lots of weird instruments. But in general, I didn't leave it feeling like, okay, you know, this is, you know, like having a song stuck in my head. But I don't think that's what they're trying to do. And I think that's something that a lot of psychedelic rock does, is that it gets so layered and so textured and so many different things come in that things get stuck in your head in ways that you don't initially anticipate. You know, it's not like, you know, happy birthday to you, you know, it's not like that getting stuck in your head. It's more like the way that a guitar line comes in over a bass line or something like that gets stuck in your head. I will play a typical song, and I'll kind of lead out with that, as opposed to spending 15 minutes talking about, I don't know what I was talking about last time. It was way too much. This song is called In Technicolor for the First Time, and it's a great example of their style. I'll kind of skip ahead here. So you hear that really strong drums. And the lyrics here are all about things feeling like they're in black and white, and then you see things in Technicolor for the first time. And, you know, I wanted to re-record this also because it was raining earlier in the day, and now it's like a beautiful sunset. And the song is called Maybird, and you've heard birds this whole video. And the thing is that, like, this whole song is about living in the dark, living in a black and white world, and then seeing color for the first time. And this band, is that nice guitar line there? If you like that, listen to the album. It's like that. So, like, when you live in this city, everything's just so dark and so miserable for so long that when it is May and you hear the birds, like, it's this feeling of open. It's this feeling of life. I mean, nobody appreciates spring or May as much as a Rochesterian. And maybe I hear that in this album. Maybe I'm trying to hear it. I mean, the song's called In Technicolor for the First Time, and that actually kind of bugs me. See, when I was working out to this, I was working out at the gym, and the guy in front of me was this old retiree wearing a Kodak shirt, like a white, beat-up Kodak shirt from the 80s. The most Rochester thing you'll ever see. You know, Kodak is dead, Xerox is dead, the whole area is a post-industrial wasteland. But, like, in Technicolor, like, Kodak had its own color film process called Kodachrome, excuse me. So I don't know, you know, these guys left Rochester, they live in Brooklyn. So part of me feels like, you know, maybe if they were still here, it'd be in Kodachrome for the first time. But it's not. They moved on, and hopefully they'll make it. They're produced by Danger Mouse. It's a great album. It's worth listening to. I'll kind of play it out as we go here. But if I had to give it a review, I have to call it pleasant Kodachrome feelings. That's what I would say. So there it is, Maybird and their album. Why is it psychedelic? You can tell me. Yeah, you know what? Actually, the more I listen to it, the more I like it. Like, I've now heard like a couple of songs more than once, and I get drawn to them, and I get more into it. So maybe it's actually more catchy than I think. All right, well, I'm gonna let the sun set on this beautiful Rochester May Day. I'm doing my part for the tourism board. Hear the birds. Yeah, Maybird. All right, till next time. There's the camera. See, I said it in half the time.